And it is 11:12 right now, and the morning mix continues. And, you know, one of the things one of my biggest talking points is, of course, scams. And we've had on all kinds of different experts on the program because it seems like no facet of anyone's life can truly be protected. You know, we went through IRS. We've gone in the state of Illinois through unemployment fraud. Now, apparently, there's another problem, and we're going to blame the pandemic for this. We're just going to do it. Joining me on the phone right now, Bryan Lewis, who's the CEO of IntelliCheck. He's also an ID theft expert. He's going to try and help us navigate these tricky waters. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you are well.
I am well, Maggie. Thanks for having me on, and happy to hopefully help your listeners.
You know, we hear so much about the different types of scams and how people of any age can really, simply by not thinking, you know, or being preoccupied by something, really kind of get themselves in trouble. Yet you're maintaining, I believe, that because people are working from home more and shopping from home more, that's kind of opened up a whole different area now for bogus transactions. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things going on. I think that since people are working from home more, it opens them up to phishing attacks much more than probably they'd be in the office, which leads to your information getting out, which then leads to identity theft, you know, across a broad spectrum of things, everything from opening up new credit cards to, as we're seeing, you know, unemployment claims that are fraudulent.
When you talk about, and I know myself a few years ago, I had a problem with a credit card, which my credit card company, you know, jumped on immediately. But again, you don't have the banks and the credit card people. Not everyone is at full force. Has this hurt the average consumer as well?
Oh, yeah. The amount of loss due to identity theft went up $2.2 billion in 19 over 18. And the really unfortunate thing is the amount that the consumer was hit with, because it just became too hard to prove it wasn't them, doubled nationally to $3.5 billion. And, you know, one of the things about Illinois, you rank 13th in the nation for identity theft, and that jumped 42% in 19 over 18. So this is a problem that is not going away and, in fact, has grown year after year.
What is it, when you look at different states, what is it about each state, Illinois in particular, that would put us that high up?
Yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, certain things like how easy is it to kind of counterfeit a license that looks, you know, good enough that somebody's not going to tell. You know, the Customs Department, you know, HAIR just recently confiscated 20,000 fake licenses coming in from China. So that's the thing. If you think about it, if you're going to open up credit or go to prove who you are, generally all you're asked for is your Social Security number and some form of government ID. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, your Social Security number is for sale on the dark web for usually about $1. And for $150 to $200, I can also go on the dark web and get a license with your information and my photo on it. And now I've got everything I need to go perpetrate, you know, the unemployment theft. I can go into a store and open up a credit card in your name. We're even seeing, you know, significant spikes in the amount of automobiles sold with a loan that was obtained through identity theft. So it's a very widespread problem, you know, and to the tune of $16.9 billion a year.
When you break it down, can you put that down to an average cost per person? Is there any way to do that?
What I'd say is, you know, the average cost that the consumer ends up eating after trying to fight it for, you know, oftentimes 6 months is anywhere in the $300 to $600 range. The amount that we see on the average amount stolen for a normal department store, it's usually about a $2,100 charge. If they go in and they're at a jewelry store, you know, our clients tell us it's generally around $3,500. Surprisingly, people go in and buy entire furniture sets. And furniture stores tell us it's around $2,900 each attempt. Now, the thing is, it looks like you did it, right? Because I walked in with a valid driver's license. It looks like it. I know your social security number. I know where you live. That's all the things I need to get that credit card or that instant credit at the store and walk out. So it appears as though you did it, and that's what makes it so hard to fight and prove it wasn't you.
And I would suspect from a prosecutorial or a police standpoint, this has to be pretty hard to indict and actually prosecute, is it not?
Yeah, catching the people tends to be hard. It's certainly not just, mom and pop. This is certainly organized, crime rings that are doing this. And they're careful to cover their tracks, and it's hard to prove that it wasn't, that who it was and who did it. I mean, these crooks are pretty brazen. We help a lot of even retail bank branches. And the amount of times that people would go into a bank branch and clean somebody's account out, knowing that there's cameras everywhere, but they realize I can take over your account. Another growing way that they're doing it. They get enough information to convince the bank that it's you, close the account, money's gone. Very hard to get back.
To me, and I'm sorry, I hate to be an alarmist, but every once in a while push my button about something. Is this pretty much a case of it's not a matter of if, but when it's going to happen to you, or am I being a little bit too dramatic about that?
I don't think you are, and I've said that, to many of my friends. I was in 5 packaged, my information was in 5 packaged data sales. And what the crooks who get the data do, they'll package different data from different breaches, put it together so there's a more fulsome group of information to make a Bryan Lewis entity, and then they sell that. So I look at that as my stuff's been sold multiple times. I just watch very carefully. I think one of the things we all should be doing is checking our credit reports. So if it does happen, you can stop it, almost immediately and raise the red flag.
Now I know you have some other tips, but is it possible? Obviously, we are all maybe got a little bit too complacent, so we need, to really kind of be proactive with our accounts. But how can we protect ourselves from this?
Well, I think one of the number one things is everybody should remember your bank, the government, the cable company, none of those people are going to call you up and ask you for personal information. They either they know it or they don't, and there's no reason for you to give it out over the phone. So don't do it. The other thing I'll say is, at work, we're all trained to change our passwords all the time. Every 30, 60, 90 days. Do the same thing at home. The other thing is make sure that you're not using the same password across multiple sites, because once they get one password, they can quickly find out everything that you're doing. I also tell people be very wary of attachments in emails where you don't know who the person, who sent it to you. That's a great way for them to, you click on it, it can download malware that does everything from screw your computer up to track all the clicks and the keystrokes that you do. And then we're seeing this more and more where people call up, try and be helpful, let me help you set up your direct deposit, things like that. Never let anybody set up a direct deposit for you. That's something you and only you should do, because you've now given the kings to the kingdom to change where money gets sent. And in the world of Bitcoin and things, 2 clicks and that money is gone. You'll never see it again. The other thing I always tell people is be very wary of open Wi-Fi. I never, every place you go, you can log into free Wi-Fi. Sounds wonderful, except with, things that the criminals have, they can track what you're doing. So I go in and, I'll read the news, but I'm not going to open up my mail on the Wi-Fi. I'll use my phone as a personal hotspot, because then I know it's secure. So we really need to be very careful about what we do with our passwords. Be wary of spreading your personally identifiable information, particularly over the phone or the internet with people you don't know, and certainly change your passwords.
I also read, and tell me if this is true, that part of the problem when it comes to social media accounts, Facebook or Twitter, people are too giving of personal information, pets' names, children's names, birth dates, anything that there's probably an algorithm somewhere that can sort through and kind of try to figure out what your password is.
Yeah, well, if you look at all the questions that they ask you for the recover my password stuff, usually it's your pet, your first car, your mother's maiden name, and everybody puts that out there. Social media is to me very scary because people, if you don't close your account, it's open to the world. And if somebody's trying to find out about you, all they need to do is scroll through, and you've probably given enough hints away to have them get the answers to those questions. And, the other thing, and it's just simple crime, but when you are talking about your great vacation that you're on, people know you're not home. It makes you liable for a burglary.
And finally, I'm talking to Bryan Lewis here, CEO of IntelliCheck, and he's giving us some tips here to prevent ID theft. I want to thank you for your time. How can people get more information? And also, I do want to ask, you said you had said really monitor your credit report. How often should you be looking at that?
You can sign up for services that are free, like Credit Karma, other things, and they'll tell you if something has changed on your credit report. I get emails from them that, when I paid off a credit card or somebody's come in and done a credit check, which means if that's the case, somebody's trying to open up credit in my name. So they're very simple, easy, just to sign up for, and they don't cost money, which is a really good thing for all of us to do. Because you'll get notification generally within 24 hours of something happening to your credit.
Bryan, before I let you go, anything else you want to share with my listeners about the importance of safety?
Yeah, the thing that I'd say right now is the amount of data breaches that are happening seem to be growing exponentially each year, which means there's more data out there for the criminals to steal your identity. Unfortunately, I agree with you, Maggie, probably not if, but when. And just be cognizant of that fact and watch and be prepared to move quickly. Let the FTC and other people know when this happens. You can go to their websites. They've got some really good information on what you can do to protect yourself and what to do if it happens to you.
Bryan, I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully we reached some people here before it's too late.
Thank you, Maggie. Happy to help.
Thank you so much. You be well.
You too.
That's Bryan Lewis, CEO of IntelliCheck, and he's an ID theft expert. Great sound advice. The Morning Mix continues in just a minute.